Tara Reade, a former Senate staffer for Joe Biden, has come forward with detailed sexual assault allegations against him. Now, she alleges that she was assaulted by Joe Biden back in the early 90s, 1993 to be specific, when she was, and then later she wanted to get some legal help in coming forward with these allegations. And she was allegedly turned away from the Time's Up movement. We'll get into the details on that in just a minute, but I think it's important for you to hear from Tara Reade herself. She was interviewed by Katie Halper, and that's where she detailed the sexual assault. Let's take a look at the first video.
I actually did come forward in 93, but not to the press, but I went through protocol and complained.
What was your complaint about?
Sexual harassment. I did not complain formally about the other piece of what happened that I'll talk about in a few minutes, but I talked about what was witnessed and the general atmosphere of the office, the way I was treated, because I would see him at meetings and he would basically put his hands on me, put his hands on my shoulder, run his finger on my neck. He was very like handsy with a lot of people, but like with it's like what I had, and I have said this, that's in the press before from the last time. It made me feel like an inanimate object. I didn't feel like a person. He didn't like make conversation with me or talk with me or ask me anything relevant.
So I wanted you all to hear that portion. We're about to play one other video that gets very graphic. And so I just wanted to warn everyone who, might become triggered from the talk of sexual assault or rape. But before we get to it, I do want to also note that, in that clip, she talks about how there were people who witnessed it. She actually did report it. She went through the appropriate protocol. And Ryan Grimm wrote a piece about this in The Intercept. And he contacted Tara Reade's friend and brother, both of whom say she told them about the alleged sexual assault by Biden in 1993. In fact, her brother was quoted as saying, woefully, I did not encourage her to follow up. I wasn't one of her better advocates. I said, let it go, move on. Guys are idiots, right? So when Lucy Flores, a Nevada politician, came forward to talk about how she felt that she was inappropriately touched by Biden, that's what encouraged Reade to come forward with her story about sexual harassment. But when she did that, she started getting attacked by Democrats in the media, Biden people, who wanted to smear her as nothing more than, a Bernie supporter who wants to destroy Biden's campaign, right? And then there were allegations of her being a pro-Russia asset or agent. But I go ahead, Cenk.
Yeah, sorry. Just this topic is so important for two different reasons. One is, did it happen? And if it happened, and what exactly happened? Because what you're about to hear is far more graphic. And what can we do about it? The second issue that's so important here is how the media is treating it. Right. So let's let you hear the full story, and then we'll give you the full context on both of those topics.
I was wearing like a skirt and, business skirt, but I wasn't wearing stockings. It was kind of a hot day that day, and I was wearing heels. And I remember my legs had been hurting from the marble, of the Capitol, like walking. And I remember that kind of stuff. I remember like that. And it was kind of an unusually warm day. And I remember I was wearing a blouse and he just had me up against the wall and the wall was cold. And I remember it happened all at once. The gym bag, I don't know where it went. I handed it to him, it was gone. And then his hands were on me and underneath my clothes. And and then he went down my skirt, but then up inside it, and he penetrated me with his fingers, whatever. And he was kissing me at the same time, and he was saying something to me. He said several things, and I can't remember everything he said. I remember a couple of things. I remember him saying first, before, like as he was doing it, do you want to go somewhere else? And then him saying to me when I pulled away, he got finished doing what he was doing, and I kind of was pulled back, and he said, come on, man, I heard you liked me.
And he allegedly also told her, "You're nothing to me," which she said was somehow like more painful, like the thing that she still like has a lot of pain about today, because she had admired him so much and, you know, really felt lucky that she got the opportunity to work for him. So to hear him say that to her is something that it still pains her to this day.
Okay, so let's break it down. So look, in every one of these cases, it is an extraordinarily difficult topic because on the one hand, if she's telling the truth and no one believes her, that's disgusting, man. And I can't stomach the thought of someone going through that and then having en masse people claim that she's a Russian agent and not believing her. Now, it's also equally true that if someone did not do that and someone's making it up about them, that is incredibly painful. And I don't know where they go to get their reputation back, what people are going to think of their character back, etc. Now, when you're analyzing that, in the past, we were told by mainstream media, etc., you're not allowed to question the women. Now, on this show, we do things we're not allowed to do. And I like to think that we're courageous in trying to deal with the topics. So we think context matters. Do we think that women are right about this every single time? No. It is there are percentages, there are real life issues, and there's context. At the same time, what we point out to you guys is believe the women does not mean that it's categorical. What it means is statistically, 98% of the time, women are telling the truth. So if your assumption going in, not in a court of law, the proof has to be presented by the prosecution, and the person is innocent until proven guilty. But when you're looking to see who's telling the truth in the court of public opinion, women who report this stuff, 98% of the time it's true. Mm-hmm. Now you could say, hey, listen, in politics that number might not hold, etc. But we can and we must have honest conversations about this. So in this case, the real way to look at it is, well, look, I got to know what her motivations are. So if she's a diehard Bernie Sanders supporter, that might make a difference. If she really is, related to the Russian government, that would make a huge difference, right? And those are relevant things to consider. But now when you look at those facts, it turns out, no, originally she supported Elizabeth Warren, and then Marianne Williamson at some point, and then Bernie Sanders. So, okay, that doesn't really hold. On the Russia stuff, having read some of the Medium posts that she wrote about how great Putin was, it made me deeply uncomfortable. So that's real. On the other hand, when you read the last story I read was from Vox, and it was probably the best story on this. Mm-hmm. And there she explains, look, I was reading Chomsky, and I had written I wanted to write a romance story around Russia, and I had a romantic views of Russia from when I was younger, etc. But then I read about the domestic violence happening under Putin, and I no longer believe that. Well, okay, it sounds super credible. Okay, maybe it's not, and you all have to make up your own mind. And you never know. Anybody could be wrong about this. But when you hear the full context of the story, man, she sounds credible. So then
I have to say, look, all of the, like Richard Painter, right, who's worked for Obama's administration for ethics and all that stuff. Like all these people who are smearing her and they're trying to brush her off as someone who's not credible, quite honestly, disgust me. Because if these were accusations against Donald Trump, we damn well know that they would take it seriously and they would demand that there's an investigation. When the allegations came out against Brett Kavanaugh, they were taken seriously, and I'm glad they were taken seriously. You can't change your view on sexual assault allegations simply based on whether or not it's convenient for you to believe them or to take them seriously, right? So for me, if these accusations were made against politicians that I like, it doesn't matter. It's not my job to determine whether the story or the accusations are true or not. It is the job of professionals who investigate these types of accusations. And so for people who are like making a decision about whether or not she's telling the truth, based on what? What evidence do you have that she's not telling the truth? You have no evidence. The only thing that people are really referring to is her support for Bernie Sanders after the election, the primary election, ended up being between Biden, who she's accusing of sexual assault, and Bernie Sanders. That was the only other viable candidate at that point. It's just gross, because what I've seen over and over again is a bunch of hacks exploiting women for their political advantage, for their political gain. But when push comes to shove, they don't actually care about protecting women and looking out for them. They just don't. They love to use women's issues for the little political campaigns or to push political candidates they like.
Yeah, so media, you tell me what the standard is, because I don't understand it. Because when it was allegations against Republicans or anyone progressive, but largely, to be fair, it was against Republicans, you said, no, you must believe the women and you should not even look at any of the context. Now, when it's an allegation against your beloved establishment Democratic candidate, now you turn around and say you're illegitimate if you believe her. Oh my God. I mean, that's insane. And they all say it with a straight face. Isaac Edward Dovere, one of the worst journalists in the country, is the one who smeared her in the first place. Oh, did you know? Oh, is it Russia, right? But New York Times, where are you? CNN, where are you? NPR, etc. So, and everyone on the planet knows if this same exact allegation was against Bernie Sanders, he would be immediately disqualified by every single writer in the country. And look, last thing, it's also the personal issue with me that I made a joke 21 years ago, and every mainstream media outlet thought it was disqualifying that I made a joke 20 years ago. But This is not disqualifying for Biden. Insanity.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.